In Arizona, FBI agents surround a house operated by the Sonora Cartel. Meanwhile, at the same time, another truck carrying agents approaches the house. They ram through a wall and begin clearing the interior, searching for hostages. Kate, leading the team, storms into a room and narrowly avoids being shot, managing to kill the attacker in time. At the breach in the wall, the agents are horrified to discover severely decomposed bodies sealed inside the walls. The scene is so disturbing that they step outside to catch their breath and regain composure. Kate, along with her superior, FBI agent Jennings, returns to the house, where they count more than 40 bodies. Although there is no solid evidence, they suspect the house belongs to Lieutenant Manuel Diaz, who is currently hiding in the U.S. Outside, 2 police officers are inspecting a nearby shed when they discover a locked door beneath the floor. They radio the agents, but at that moment, an explosion tears through the shed, killing both officers. Kate returns home, shaken by the entire ordeal. Not long after, Kate and Reggie are summoned to FBI headquarters, where, in another room, Jennings and other officers review her file, along with a man interested in using her skills. They call Kate in, where she meets CIA officer Matt Graver. He questions her about her knowledge of Manuel's operations, then asks about her personal life. Kate reluctantly explains that she is divorced and has no children. After some discussion, they call her back in and reveal that a task force has been formed to investigate the Sonora Cartel, led by Graver. They nominate her as the liaison officer. Their first target is Manuel's brother, who, Graver explains, is hiding somewhere in the El Paso area, though he remains vague on other details. Jennings reminds her that participation is voluntary, and only with her consent. Kate agrees, on the condition that she be allowed to personally take down those responsible for the bodies found in the house. Reggie drives Kate to an Air Force base to meet Graver, but only she is permitted inside the secure area. She is taken onto the runway, where Graver waits beside a private jet. She boards the plane, and shortly after, another man, Alejandro, boards and takes a seat. Kate introduces herself, but he does not give his name, only asking if she has ever been to Mexico. Kate assumes they are flying to El Paso, and turns to Graver to ask, but he appears to be asleep. In Texas, they are met by CIA personnel and transported to a U.S. military base. There, Kate realizes she is part of a large task force. They have captured Guillermo Diaz and are preparing to transfer him from his current holding site to the base. They are warned to watch for cartel members who may attempt an attack. After the briefing, Kate is still unsure who Alejandro really is. She learns that he was once a federal prosecutor in Mexico and holds Colombian citizenship. This only deepens her suspicions, but Alejandro tells her everything will become clear. Graver tells her that Alejandro is a consultant, though Kate questions the legality of his role. She wants to know what she is getting into, but Graver says everything they are doing is meant to take down those responsible for the Arizona incident. She can choose to stay on the sidelines or actually make a difference. The task force quickly mobilizes, departing in a convoy and crossing into Mexico, where they merge with a much larger federal police unit. They are escorted through quiet streets, heading deeper into the city, where Kate is stunned by the sight of bodies hanging beneath a bridge. After some time, they realize the cartel has learned their route and adjusted their path accordingly. They change direction and continue toward their destination. Soon they arrive at the facility where Guillermo is being held. Alejandro suspects the cartel will strike near the border and warns Kate to be cautious of state police, as many of them are on the cartel's payroll. The team retrieves Guillermo and quickly heads back. Federal police escort them to the border, but traffic soon slows them down. Alejandro is the first to notice 2 vehicles carrying cartel members closing in, and warns Kate to be ready. The team aims their weapons at the vehicles, but is ordered to fire only if the other side makes the first move. Moments later, one man opens a car door, and the team immediately forms up, ordering them to surrender. A suspect panics, and Delta Force operators gun him down, along with everyone else in the vehicle. The second car meets the same fate, taken out by the remaining operators. At the same time, Kate shoots and kills a lone federal officer trying to murder her. Before the team withdraws, they return to the base, with Kate still shaken, unsure whether what they did was even legal. Graver tells her this is the future of warfare, and that she must learn how things truly work. He enters the interrogation room, where Guillermo is being held, but Guillermo pretends not to speak English. Graver anticipated this, and plans to call in an old friend to make him talk. Alejandro is then approached by a Mexican police official, an old friend from his past. Both are glad to see that the other is still fighting. Rafael tells Alejandro about a secret tunnel the cartel uses for smuggling, urging him to act quickly. Before leaving, Rafael apologizes to Alejandro for what happened to him in the past. Alejandro enters Guillermo's interrogation room carrying a bottle of water. Guillermo recognizes him in terror, calling Alejandro by the name Metal N. Alejandro leans in close, making the air unbearably tense. Just before a brutal interrogation begins, Kate follows a Delta Force operator to the roof, overlooking Juarez, now turned into a battlefield. Only one night after Guillermo's arrest, Graver and Alejandro are picked up by Reggie. Reggie recognizes Alejandro and asks Kate about him, but she only says they need to leave immediately. They soon return to Arizona, where they illegally detain a large group of Mexican migrants. Alejandro orders everyone released, except those from towns in Sonora, where secret tunnels are rumored to exist. Kate asks what they are looking for, but Graver tells her to just observe. Alejandro interrogates those remaining, determining who has crossed into the US before, and checking their hands and backgrounds. Reggie demands to know what is going on, and threatens to pull out without answers. Kate also says she will quit if they do not tell her the truth. Graver finally gives in and explains they received intel from Guillermo and are identifying Sonora's tunnels by locating areas migrants avoid. He adds, they are creating enough chaos in Mexico to force Manuel to return and expose both his location and that of Sonora's true boss, Fausto. Alejandro compares finding him to discovering a cure for a disease. Kate and Reggie accept this. Kate returns home, torn between justice and due process. But the images of the cartel's brutality strengthen her resolve, convincing herself that the end justifies the means. Later, Reggie visits her, questioning Graver, since the CIA is not allowed to operate on US soil, and believing his advisor role is just a cover. Kate realizes the task force is doing dirty but necessary work. Reggie insists she needs someone watching her back. The two meet Graver and Alejandro at a site where selected migrants are providing intelligence on areas frequently used by the cartel. Graver instructs Kate to notify the squad when surveillance begins on a bank laundering money for Manuel. Inside, they identify a female money mule depositing cash as she leaves the bank. The team quickly moves in and arrests her, discovering her bag filled with cash. Kate believes they can build a case against Manuel. Ignoring Graver's order not to enter the bank, she and Reggie go inside to speak with the bank manager and obtain information about Manuel's accounts. Manuel's deposits are offset by a $17 million line of credit, causing the balance to appear negative and never be reported. Kate presents this to Graver, believing they can arrest Manuel and prosecute him, but Graver reminds her their goal is to send him back to Mexico and refuses to act. Despite this, Kate brings the issue to Jennings, wanting at least some form of legal process. Jennings reminds her of how many prosecutions they've made, yet the streets remain unchanged. He explains that people like Graver and the task force are placed there by elected officials, so she shouldn't worry about crossing lines. They leave the office and decide to grab a drink, unaware they are being watched by Alejandro. They arrive at a bar and order drinks. While talking, Kate notices a man at the bar watching her intently. He approaches and reveals he and Reggie are longtime friends. He introduces himself to Kate as Ted and joins them, laughing and chatting. Ted invites Kate to dance, and the two grow close. They later return to her apartment. While being intimate, Kate notices Ted has a rubber band identical to the one found on the money courier. Ted realizes she's noticed and tries to calm her, but Kate grabs her gun and they struggle. Ted overpowers her and nearly strangles her to death until Alejandro appears, aiming his gun at Ted. Alejandro brutally beats Ted, threatening to hand his family to the cartel and send him to a labor camp. Ted admits he went too far and tries to bargain, but Alejandro forces him to confess. How many police officers are working for the cartel? Afterward, Alejandro checks on Kate, who is still shaken. He reveals Ted was sent to find out what she knew. Kate thanks him for saving her life, and Alejandro says she reminds him of someone very special, someone extremely important to him. He tells her to rest, because Manuel will be called back to Mexico tomorrow. The next day, the team monitors Sonora's tunnel leading into Mexico. They encounter Officer Silvio, having dinner and promising his son they will play soccer together afterward. The boy reaches toward a rifle nearby, but Silvio scolds him and warns him to stay away from weapons. Later, Kate and Reggie stop by the room where Graver's task force is monitoring Manuel's house, waiting for any sign of movement. The team plans to strike the tunnel, wiping out all smugglers and cartel gunmen, creating massive chaos on Graver's orders. Soon, they see Manuel leave the house, confirming the signal to move. Graver initially does not want Kate and Reggie to join the operation, as he doubts they would stay silent with the FBI. However, he still needs them along, since the CIA cannot operate without them. Kate realizes why she was recruited. Reggie suggests they should walk away, believing they are being used. But Kate wants to know what they are being used for. The task force quickly rolls out in an escort convoy. Meanwhile, cartel members load drugs into the trunk of Silvio's police car. He drives toward the tunnel entrance. The team stops at a safe distance, where Delta Force operators order Kate and Reggie to stay back to avoid distractions. They check their gear and move toward the tunnel, disappearing into the darkness like ghosts. The formation advances tactically, weapons ready at all times. At the entrance, Graver authorizes lethal force. He goes in first, drawing his knife and descending slowly. From behind, Kate and Reggie hear struggling sounds and muffled screams. Before encountering bodies Graver has taken down, they enter the main chamber of the tunnel and hear the assault team engaging cartel gunmen with heavy gunfire. Kate advances and nearly gets hit, but Reggie shoots the gunman and tells her to stay close behind him. Meanwhile, on the Mexican side, Silvio hurriedly unloads the drugs from the car when Alejandro suddenly appears, shooting the cartel man standing beside him. Silvio recognizes him and calls him Metal N. At that moment, Kate arrives, ordering Alejandro to release the officer. Alejandro shoots her body armor, warning her never to point a weapon at him. Alejandro then leaves in the police car with Silvio reporting over the radio, providing directions and distance to Manuel's vehicle. Silvio trembles, saying he has a son, and Alejandro tells him to obey if he ever wants to see his child again. Back at the tunnel, the task force has cleared the area when Reggie realizes Kate is missing. As they search, Kate stumbles out of the tunnel and lunges at Graver, but he takes her down and restrains her. While Delta Force holds Reggie back, Graver forces Kate to calm down, saying she took the wrong tunnel and saw things she wasn't meant to see. Kate demands to know who Metal N is. Graver explains that Metal N was a time when a single power controlled the drug trade. What Kate witnessed was Alejandro restoring that order. Alejandro is revealed to be an assassin trained by the CIA. While the CIA uses him, Alejandro is also using the CIA to avenge Fausto and the Sonora cartel, who beheaded his wife and threw his daughter into an acid vat. Kate insists this is wrong and vows to expose the CIA's actions, but Graver warns her she would be making a fatal mistake. Meanwhile, Alejandro and Silvio continue driving when they spot Manuel's vehicle ahead. Alejandro orders Silvio to turn on the lights and force Manuel to pull over. Following Alejandro's command, Silvio uses the loudspeaker to order Manuel out of the car. Manuel reluctantly complies and asks if the officer knows who he is. After forcing Manuel to disarm, Alejandro orders Silvio out of the vehicle. As the two face each other, Alejandro suddenly shoots Silvio dead, then shoots Manuel in the leg. Manuel claims he is a kingpin, but Alejandro knows exactly who he is and demands to meet his real boss. He threatens to have 20 men rape Manuel's family if he resists. Alejandro forces Manuel to drive to Fausto's estate, where he immediately shoots a gate guard. Right after the man radios and that all is clear. Manuel panics and asks what will happen to him. But Alejandro ignores the question. The car reaches another gate, heavily guarded. But Alejandro quickly kills everyone there. After shooting Manuel in the neck, leaving him to die in the car, Alejandro enters the estate, killing an unsuspecting guard. He finds Fausto dining with his wife and 2 sons, holds him at gunpoint, and calmly sits down, speaking in English to avoid frightening the children. He tells Fausto he can dine with his family while murdering people without remorse outside. Fausto replies that those who wronged Alejandro are no different from him. He asks whether Alejandro's wife would be proud of the man he has become. Alejandro reminds him not to forget his daughter. Fausto argues it was just business. But to Alejandro, it is deeply personal. Fausto begs not to be killed in front of his family. So Alejandro swiftly kills everyone but Fausto, leaving him trembling in terror, before finally executing him as well. Later, Kate stands on her apartment balcony, sensing someone behind her, and hearing a warning to step away. She goes inside and finds Alejandro holding her gun. He tells her to sit down. Kate trembles as she obeys. And Alejandro sits across from her, saying she reminds him of his daughter. He hands her a document, granting immunity to the CIA and to himself, and orders her to sign it. Kate reads the paper carefully, but cannot bring herself to sign. Overwhelmed, she breaks down as Alejandro presses the gun under her chin, explaining her death would look like a suicide. Kate finally signs the document. Alejandro advises her to move to another town, saying she is not a wolf and would not survive in this world. As Alejandro leaves toward the parking garage, Kate grabs another gun and aims down from the balcony. Alejandro turns back to face her, showing no fear. But Kate cannot pull the trigger and watches him walk away. Silvio's widow takes her son to a youth soccer match as gunshots echo nearby.